Welcome to Bet99's The Parleh Show. It's Friday, everybody.
Yes, sir.
It's a big day here at the Parleh Studios, and for Bet99, Toronto Festival of Beer kicks off in just a few hours. We will all be down there. Rob Conway here, Albert Vartanian, as always. Special day for me as well to be in studio on a Friday. Everyone's getting ready for
You
TFOP.
take Fridays off.
During the summer. Once the football season gets going, I'll be
Living
back.
like a doctor.
Yeah.
Bobby Conway.
Yeah.
Doctor's
but
hours.
I'm also on call because
Okay.
when we
I
need to
see.
come in, I was right here ready
All
to
right.
go. I'm looking forward to tonight, though. It's going to be a lot of fun having everyone down there. We'll be doing some content
Hell yeah.
all over the Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff, as well as some videos coming out after. But let's get into some of the talk today. The Los Angeles Angels heading into Toronto. Shohei Ohtani will not be pitching. Because he decided to do that yesterday. And if you're a Jays fan, if you had tickets, maybe you're disappointed. But if you're a Jays fan,
Yeah.
you have to be happy about it because he was ridiculous yesterday in what I would consider, honestly, perhaps the greatest day of baseball by any player of all time.
Yeah, I don't know who comes close. I mean, you pitch a complete game,
Shutout.
111 pitches, and in the following game, in a back-to-back doubleheader, you hit 2 bombs.
Yeah.
Who does that? Nobody does that.
Literally nobody.
There's one guy, actually, 1971, from what I read. Rick Wise, I think, for the Phillies in the same game, he pitched a shutout. No, he pitched a no-hit shutout, complete game, and hit 2 home runs.
But it was the same game because he was like batting.
Exactly, yeah.
Not to take anything away from that accomplishment. That's
don't
amazing.
take anything away.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
what Ohtani is doing is incredible. There's so many storylines revolving around this Angels team. So yesterday, the GM of the Angels comes out and said, we're not dealing him. And they end up becoming buyers. They
got Giolito.
They pick up Giolito, who's pitching tonight against Gosman.
Yes.
Great pitching matchup.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be like a 1-1 heading into the 11th inning.
Albert's worst nightmare at a game.
I've been through the Gosman games where
Yeah.
it goes deep. It's fun. I mean, if you like pitching, but it can be kind of boring.
Nobody wants to watch pitching. Everyone wants to watch
Now they become buyers.
the long ball.
And they're what? They're 3 games back of the wild card.
Yeah.
They have the best record since the All-Star break. And it was almost like Ohtani needed to put that performance in to let everyone know, like, yeah, I'm here and we're going to make a serious push for this thing. So I just love what's happening right now. If they make the playoffs, it's a hell of a story. If they don't make the playoffs, it's a huge story because then he's most likely, you would think, maybe going to walk away. He could stay still.
I mean, I think if they make enough of a push, if they were to drop out by the end of middle September, late August, and they're 10 games out because they went on a terrible losing streak, then it would be. If they miss by a game or two, you got to think that that's fair that they kept him. I don't think that making the playoffs is end all be all. I still think they should have traded him because I don't think they're a championship team, and what you would have got would have just absolutely restarted
maybe right, but like I have a few theories on why they decided not to trade him.
Okay.
Maybe one of them is they didn't get a package that they liked. That could be one of the reasons. 2, this can be all BS. This can be a complete smokescreen. Oh, we're not getting enough. We're not going to trade him, hoping that some of these offers come in with a bit more prospects. Then I can also understand. I never thought
now
about
you have
this
Giolito.
until
You
now.
got to move him again. Then
It's true, but I never thought of this until now. If I'm the other team who's trying to bring in Ohtani, let's say for 2 months, right? You bring him as a rental and hope that he signs. If you give up your farm for Ohtani, you get to the playoffs, you get bounced in the divisional series or the champion series, whatever the case may be, and then he walks. That's a horrible move. Business decision wise,
terrible.
You can't do that.
I agree.
So I can understand the hesitation from the teams trying to make offers for Ohtani. And I get what the Angels are doing, where it's like, if we're not getting what it's worth, then we might as well just go all in.
Yeah, I don't blame them for not wanting to move on this guy. And you even talked about what if he gets the record? Like, even if he gets the record and they don't make the playoffs, for that to have all happened in a Los Angeles Angels uniform is a pretty important thing.
I think so. They can make the playoffs potentially, maybe make a run. You'll still have the storyline of Ohtani chasing Aaron Judge's home run record. He's on pace for 60, I think, right now. He's got 38.
Yeah.
So that storyline's always going to be there. Even if they don't make the playoffs, people will still be watching because they want to see if he's going to break the record. It's fascinating.
It's fascinating, but now the trade deadline sucks. On August 1st, there's just nothing.
Yeah.
You mentioned a possible Toronto Blue Jays trade. What was it? Zach Pop for Brent Sutter?
Zach Pop to Colorado, I think, for Brent Sutter.
Not the NHL hockey player, Brent.
Listen,
Sutter,
I've been listening to
way.
a lot of American.
No offense to either of those players, but Shohei Ohtani has a little bit more cachet, and there's other people
for sure.
too, right?
But they're not going to get him.
Guys like Stroman, we were talking about off air. Guys like Stroman and Cody Bellinger you said they have a better chance in Chicago to make the playoffs than the Angels right now from the Fangraphs percentage or whatever.
So the Cubs have a better shot to make the playoffs, but are essentially sellers.
Yeah.
At least that's what we're to believe.
But there may not be, and now there's 2 more good players that are not going to be on the market.
But if you have Ohtani, and he's staying with your team, or you want him to stay with your team, you have to be a buyer, especially if you're close enough to potentially make a wild card. But their schedule is tough, dude. I mean, they got the Jays right now. I know they still have to play Seattle. They have to play Houston. They have to play the Braves, San Francisco. They got a pretty tough run till the end of the season.
I don't know. I'm just disappointed that all this chatter.
Well, everyone was hoping for a blockbuster, but now it leaves to the end of the season. I have a feeling he's going to stay. I don't know why. He had this to say, actually.
He can't stay.
After yesterday's game. He goes, in a season, I don't really like to think about long-term stuff. Just focus on the season, every game in front of me. I've been with the Angels for my whole career. I love these fans. I love this team. No complaints.
Yeah, I mean, it's just when you forget about the greatness of that and wanting to stay on the same team, it's just the Angels aren't the pinnacle market, and I don't even care where a guy plays. Like, whatever. I like watching Shohei Ohtani. I'll watch him whether he plays in Milwaukee or he plays in.
But you want him on the Eastern Time Zone.
That I do want him on the Eastern Time Zone.
And that's selfish of us.
Yeah.
But listen, you never know with these Angels. They're gonna get Trout back mid-August. Your boy and my boy Mickey Moniak is on fire. 17-game hit streak, hitting behind Ohtani. He's batting .380. Now they have Giolito. We'll see his performance tonight if he can, do what he's been doing. I mean, you never know, man. All you got to do is make it in. If there's a team that showed us that, it was the Phillies last year. Make it in, and anything can happen.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll talk about it a bit more because obviously the Jays are playing these very Angels, and Shohei Ohtani will be in the batter's box. He won't be on the mound over the weekend, but it should be exciting. We'll get back into Jays and Angels coming up after this. Rob and Albert will be back. All right, welcome back to Bed 99's The Parleh Show. Rob Conway and Albert Vartanian in studio in Toronto. It's Friday. It's Toronto Festival of Beer Day, opening day. We're ready to go. We're looking forward to getting down there
we will
later
be there.
this evening. If you have tickets, head on down. Myself will be there. Obviously, Albert. We're going to have James Sharman there, Sarah Pararia, Noor Zainab, Justin Pooney, and Kevin Kennedy.
Yeah, the whole crew, man. It's going to be a good time.
It's going to be a
I
great
haven't
time.
been to the Festival of Beer. What is
Toronto Festival of Beer.
It used to be Beer Fest, but now they've changed it, I guess.
Yeah.
The Toronto Festival of Beer. I haven't been in years, dude. So
But I haven't been in a long time. Oh, I shouldn't say I haven't been in a long time. I went last year, but before that, I hadn't been in a long time as well.
Let's do it, man.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Rain's going to hold off. I know. Because
I don't know. Driving in here today didn't
it was
look
a little
too good.
dark, but no, I'm feeling that. We go.
There's tornado warnings the past few days. What's going on?
You're Larry Lawn Care. You know what's the
I
radar
know.
saying?
Well, I got the radar saying it's good till 10 p.m. Eastern time, so we'll see.
We're good. Ice Cube's going to be rapping.
Yeah.
What
time's he coming
wrapping
out?
up the show?
What time's that happening?
I believe he's on 8:39.
Nice. Okay.
So yeah, but he'll be doing his encore in the rain. It'll be great, just like the Super Bowl, Purple Rain with the Prince.
I love that.
Yeah, that was
Purple Rain.
That was
What
the
a
greatest
tune
halftime
that
show of all time. But we don't.
That might be an all-time. That would be a top 5 tune.
Prince is probably my favorite artist.
He's your guy?
Like, because I'm a guitar guy, and I don't know if you know Prince as a guitar player, but he is the greatest guitar player of all time.
Were you one of those guys who drove down to the bridle path to see his house?
No.
Way back in the day?
No.
Okay.
But I one thing I'll always say, like, if you're thinking about going to Beer Fest and you don't know if you want to go or not, or if there's any concert you're ever thinking about going, he was playing the Sony Center in Toronto, and it was expensive, and I knew no one would want to go with me and pay $250, but I should go myself. And I didn't go because I didn't want to pay. I'll see him next time.
And you regret it.
There was no next time, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it was very upset, very devastating, and more importantly, if you ever want to do something, just go for it.
Just go for it. I heard he used to just jump in, like, surprise at restaurants or bars sometimes. No notice, no promotion. He would just, Prince is playing at the bar tonight.
Yeah. George Harrison tribute, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, one of the greatest solos of all time. Put it on YouTube. I watch it all the time. Just that and the 9 minutes of halftime show in Miami during the rain. Was
amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well,
Prince,
there it is. You want to know what would have been brutal tonight?
What?
So, Shohei Ohtani, I think the Major League Baseball called because I think there was an expectation that he was going to pitch this weekend, and they said, "Can you please make sure he pitches in the doubleheader?" Because on Friday night, Ohtani versus Gausman in Toronto wouldn't have been on TV tonight.
That's right.
Apple TV.
That is
Could
right.
you imagine?
That is right.
The uproar, the outrage in Toronto if we couldn't see it. I mean, I have Apple TV, I think. True. Or it's on YouTube maybe. But anyway, long story short, it's not on national television. That would have been a travesty.
Yeah, you got to have him on, especially in the East against, the Blue Jays, which makes that performance against Detroit even more special because he was never preparing for Detroit.
No.
He's preparing for the Jays.
Yeah.
So he shows up. He says, I don't want to tax my bullpen. Let me go the full game, throw 110 pitches. God, he's great.
He's the best.
I need to buy his jersey. That might be. Is he at that point where it doesn't matter who you support, you might want to buy his jersey? Like he's that good. He's like he's like a Gretzky, and like wherever Gretzky is, like you want a Kings Gretzky jersey. You want that beautiful. Remember that St. Louis Blues Gretzky jersey?
Oh yeah.
With the music note, I love that one.
I thought you were being sarcastic.
No, I'm dead serious. You didn't like that one?
No.
The blue with the yellow and
Gretzky
the red.
was my hero growing up, so I wasn't a big fan when he went to St. Louis.
I think he's.
I had a Rangers jersey.
I think he's at the point. I think he's at the point where you can get a pass if like you're a Jays fan, even a Yankees fan, you're rocking an Ohtani shirt.
Do you think? Would you prefer to get a Ohtani Japan jersey or All-Star jersey instead of the Angels jersey?
I'd probably go Japan. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, more than the Angels. Even though I do like the Angels home shirt. It's nice.
Yeah. Not that you're more fan of Toronto Blue Jays than Canada as a nation, but they don't play each other very often.
Yeah, that's just a nice shirt, man. If you get the one with the Japanese writing on the back too, maybe not as cool because people would be like, but what is that? But no. Anyway.
Take a guess.
Yeah. Why else am I wearing this?
Yeah.
It's Ichiro.
So, yeah. All right. Well, Toronto tonight. What do you think tonight? It's going to be a good matchup. We got Gausman and Giolito, as you mentioned, him making his first start for the Angels. I think that always adds a bit of juice to the team. It's going to get them riled up that they know now Ohtani's staying. Not only that, they're adding arms. Perhaps another trade coming down the pipe for this team. They're going to be fired up. It's going to be a tough one. The Angels, though, big dogs on the road. Wow.
I'd bet the Angels tonight.
Me too.
I know it's Gausman, but
the value's too much.
They're playing really well. Like I said, hottest team since the
best record in the
All-Star break, man.
Wow.
And listen, they're what did I mention? 3 games back? They're 3 games back? Yeah, 3 games back of the Jays. I don't think they'll sweep the Jays. Can they win 2? Absolutely, they can. I think a lot falls on Giolito tonight too. What are you going to get out of him? The Angels' bullpen has been taxed over the past couple of weeks. He needs to go deep. I know Ohtani just went 9 innings. He needs to go at least 6 or 7 innings.
So the Jays have Gausman. Oh, these are just, what do you call when you're expected? Probables. There's the word
pitchers,
I'm thinking for. So Manoah, Gausman night, Manoah, and then Barrios.
Yeah.
And they have Reed Detmers tomorrow and Tyler Anderson.
I'm worried about Manoah. I'm worried about that start against his team that's rolling right now. Like I just said,
I don't blame you one bit.
You got 2 of the hottest batters in the league right now, in Ohtani and Mickey Moniak. Ohtani does well against the Jays. I think he's got 7 home runs and like 22 appearances against them or something like that. It doesn't matter who he plays; he's going to be great. But this is a massive series for both teams.
Massive.
If the Angels somehow pull a sweep or the Jays pull a sweep,
the Jays got to
they cement their spot in the wild card, I believe.
Yeah, and not the Jays also looking past just the Angels behind them. They got 7 games coming up against Baltimore soon. If they can stay close and then do a number on them 5-2, 6-1, all of a sudden that becomes a question as well. So you just don't want to be punting these games. It's why going 3-3 on the road trip when they really should have went 5-1. That's costly.
They could have swept the Dodgers the way they played.
Yeah.
They just blew games.
They just blew games. You can't throw those games away because now you're getting a little bit more separation with Baltimore. Are they 5.5 games back? Well, now they're 3.5 games back if they don't blow those 2 games.
And the Orioles are in every single game. Every game. And listen, if they're so fascinating to me around this trade deadline because I think their only weakness at the moment is starting pitching. Even though it's been like pretty decent, I still think they need
Kramer and
they need a legitimate.
Wells
I still think they need a legitimate arm. I don't know who that is, but a Stroman, something like that, would be perfect for the Orioles.
If they were to get somebody, and I don't even know who this is. I guess it's Stroman maybe. But they need. This is a crazy reference, but they basically need Roger Clemens to come in. Like
what I would do?
That elite level, like the best pitcher in the game.
That doesn't exist right now. Ohtani
not available.
Was the one in that category, but now he's gone.
Valdez
but okay, this is what I find fascinating. Listen, Baltimore, they have the prospects you always mention, right? Mm-hmm. Not every prospect is going to hit. We know that.
No, yeah.
So why not package a few of those? Go talk to the Padres and be like, what do you want for Blake Snell?
Are they selling though?
Well. What are they? 6.5 games back?
They should be, but they have
Cincinnati?
Such a good lineup.
Cincinnati's going to keep winning. Yeah. Arizona's winning. Miami's decent. They're not going to catch them.
No, I don't.
So
I think disagree.
I think they're trying to figure out what they are. Are they sellers or not? I mean, Juan Soto could be going too. But if I'm the Orioles, I need pitching now, and I need pitching for the playoffs. Here's a couple prospects. Give us Blake Snell. Let's see what we can do here. And by the way, the Boston Red Sox are a 1.5 games back of the Jays. So shit's Sorry, I didn't mean to swear. Stuff's starting to heat up here in the MLB. I'm getting fired up.
You are getting fired
Seriously,
up. I love it.
At one point, this was, 3 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago? I looked at Boston. I believe they were 45-1 to win the World Series. And I'm like, that's not bad.
45-1?
They're not a bad team. And now, I don't know what they are now.
There's just a couple teams like I'm looking at. Like, you got the Diamondbacks, and they have like Merrill Kelly. They got some good pitching as well. Are they done? They're 4 games out of a wild card. Half game out of a wild card, 4 games out of the division. But they got to pass the Giants and the Dodgers. The Padres are right behind them. So are they thinking about signing the Cubs, like you said? The Mets. Maybe we talked about Roger Clemens. The Mets.
Well, the report yesterday is Verlander's on the market.
Verlander would be as close to Roger Clemens as you can get. An old guy coming in. I'm going to go dominate for you. Let's go.
That's a good point. Yeah, Verlander, I think, being linked to back to the Astros, which kind of makes sense. But listen, Cincinnati's not going to stop. They might make a move. They're thinking about flipping Jonathan India. They got a bunch of prospects too. Who knows what they can do? But it's starting to heat up. What are your thoughts on the Yankees here? 2.5 back of the Jays. What do they do at the deadline?
You'd expect them to do something.
Is it pitching? Is it hitting? They kind of need a bit of
Well, they got
both,
Rodon back. He had a good last start. Severino's been up and down. That's the problem. They don't know what they have in Rodon and Severino. If they have what they should have, they're fine. Don't add bats because you can't have Donaldson and Volpe and Cabrera, all these guys.
God, Donaldson's been bad.
Yeah, you can't. And even like LeMahieu was a batting champion. He's been terrible too. Stanton hasn't been great. He's like a 200 average. Judge is not even in the lineup. Hopefully coming back soon for them. I think they're done.
Would you trade for Juan Soto if you're the Yankees?
Of course I would.
It's kind of insane, but imagine putting him in there and then Judge comes back and he finds some form. You got some power bats.
You think the Padres are selling? I'm not sold on that. But
what are they going
to
do, Bobby?
I don't know.
6.5 back.
We got to go to break. UFC 291, the BMF title's on the line. We're going to talk about that coming up after this on the Parleh Show. All right, welcome back to Bet 99's The Parleh Show. Rob Conway here in Toronto. Albert Vartanian joining me, as he always does. And let's get into the UFC talk. We haven't talked about it in a while.
Let's do it.
And massive card, considering technically there is no title fight on this card.
Well,
I mean, the BMF title is a title. And
did you see the Tyson promo?
I did see it.
Pretty cool.
Nothing got me more fired up than that.
Pretty cool.
I have to say.
That's a great fight.
When he says no one knows what it's like to be the baddest man on the planet better than me, he's absolutely correct.
It's true. Gaethje, Poirier.
Yeah.
Hell of a fight.
Did you watch? See, we're about the same age. So the Tyson era, that was must-watch TV. Just to see how quickly he would knock someone out was just before my era. I started watching pay-per-views with Hopkins and Mayweather and Pacquiao, De La Hoya, that era. But I did see Tyson fight Holyfield and then Lennox Lewis and those guys. But yeah, I've heard stories from guys that are a little bit older than me going, we'd go to the bar and you couldn't be late, and we just wanted to see him knock him out as fast as you can. I remember when Pacquiao knocked out Ricky Hatton. I'd bought that pay-per-view, and I was kind of disappointed because he knocked him out in the second round. I'm like, I would like to see a little bit more boxing.
Yeah, but that's why you watch Tyson.
But that's why you watch Tyson.
That's the only thing you wanted to see. And then just the chance that the other guy would
Buster Douglas,
knock him out, which it ended up happening. Yeah, back in the day, like we'd go to my grandparents' house, my uncle's house, and the entire family would watch the fight.
Yeah.
Like everybody. My mother, my aunts, grandmother. It was a spectacle. We used to do that for like WWF pay-per-views too.
Really?
Yeah. It was different.
Did you ever go to the theater for that? I would go to the theater
No,
for
I
WWE.
always thought about doing it. Never did that.
We would go all the time.
You can do that now for UFC. I don't know if I'd be able to sit through a whole card doing that.
No.
I barely make it through a card now.
I was like 13 when I went for WWF. That was fine.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be like, where's the pints? Where's the food? Blah, blah. Before I was just like, this is the greatest
thing. My biggest beef now with UFC is that it's so stupid, but it's just they go too long. Can we end them earlier, please?
Larry Lawn Care
Man,
over here yelling at clouds.
The midnight main card, I'm like, oh, dude, please.
That was the great thing about when I was in Vancouver for UFC 289.
How great is that?
It was done at 10 o'clock.
You know, I would hate it there, though, because I watched a ton of Premier League, and I have to wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. No, but I mean, for that specific event, we were throwing an after-party Mansion nightclub, and we were having George came by, Juliana Pena came by.
Nice.
And I was worried that no one would come because like the card would be over like 12:30, 1 o'clock. Well, Clyde was done 10. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly when you want to get ready to go.
There you go.
Yeah, it was good. It was, you're right there. And that will be much the same in Salt Lake City this weekend. My buddy, who is a fight fan, but not somebody who is going to travel very often to see a UFC card, bought tickets, bought a flight, and he's down there now because this Gaethje versus Poirier fight, it is, if you're a fight fan, like a combat sports fan, who cares if there's a title on the line or not?
It doesn't matter.
This is a fight.
Yeah, that can headline a card, right?
Yeah.
I know you. Who's headlining? Is it?
No, it's them.
Is it them? Sorry, that was the Pereira fight.
No, because that's not a title fight either,
okay,
right?
okay,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
It's a
That it is.
co-main,
So,
yeah.
it doesn't really matter what I just said.
Yeah, but it's true.
Happening.
The whole point is it carries a card.
Love
and
it.
this is more exciting than a lot of cards that do have multiple title fights on, just because this is a match made, right? It's not just number one contender, champion, whatever. It's a match made because of the fighting style and what's expected. Dustin Poirier said, I think to Sports Illustrated, I don't expect this thing to go 25 minutes, and if it does, we'll be talking about it together in the hospital because that's how bad it's going to be.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Listen, I'm looking at the odds right now. You have Poirier minus 150, Gaethje plus 122. I consider it a pick'em.
Yeah.
Right? The book doesn't, obviously. I think Poirier is probably the better fighter. But when you have a guy like Gaethje look pretty good in his last fight, he doesn't give up, right? Like, he's going until he dies. That's just his mentality. So when I see a guy like that going up against Poirier, who also has power, to me, that's a pick 'em all day.
Yeah.
I think I have to go with the plus money here. Gaethje?
I like both guys. That's the tough part.
Yeah.
I like them as fighters. I like them to watch. So it's hard because I kind of want both of them to win. Is that allowed?
Well, I mean, betting wise, no. I mean, you can, but you're not going to win any money.
So I think I'd lean to the plus money from a value perspective
me
as well. Gaethje, obviously, I don't think Poirier's going to knock him out because he certainly can. But you're right. I think he's going to go. He'll stand there. They're both going to stand there.
Yeah, that's not going to matter. I'm looking at some of these odds, and I mentioned this to you just off the air, but I'm looking at Tony Ferguson against Bobby Green. Tony Ferguson, I know he's had a rough go as of late. And
you went through the names.
I'll go through some of his fights. But he's plus 280. Bobby Green, minus 375. There is no way in hell, even in a parlay, I'm putting down minus 375 on Bobby Green.
Mm-hmm.
I know Ferguson's had a rough go, but you got to give him a shot in any fight that he's in. Especially against a Bobby Green who, listen, he's won 2 fights in the last 8 or something like that.
I agree with you 100%. I remember, we talking with George St. Pierre, who's on the show all the time. I remember the last time, who was the last guy Ferguson fought?
Diaz.
And we were talking about that. And the only question that a guy like George will ask with a guy like Tony Ferguson is that it's kind of, your chin is kind of like an egg. And once you get that first little break, it never recovers fully, right? So, an egg doesn't recover. But, then it becomes much easier to break the rest of it. So, I think he might be at that point. Like that upkick from Frankie Edgar. I mean, it's somewhat of a meme even now, but it was
brutal,
devastating, right? So it's not that he, from a talent perspective, certainly his resume is ridiculous. Even though he lost all those fights, it doesn't matter. Like, he's fighting Hall of Famers.
Yeah, want me to run through him?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So his last fight, Nate Diaz, then Chandler, Dariush, Oliveira, Justin Gaethje. He lost all of those. His last win was against Donald Cerrone, Pettis, Kevin Lee, Dos Anjos, Lando Venata, Edson Barbosa, Josh Thompson, Gleason Tebow. Like, you're fighting killers.
Absolutely.
But the thing with Tony Ferguson that Bobby Green doesn't have, outside of experience, is Tony can kill you in multiple ways.
Yeah.
Right? His jiu-jitsu is elite.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. I mean, I'm assuming wrong, that Tony's going to maybe change his style a little bit. Instead of going toe-to-toe and fight to the death, maybe be a little bit more strategic against Bobby Green. Plus 280, I think it's too much to pass up.
I don't disagree. Certainly worth it, maybe a little bit of a sprinkle on Tony. And from a legacy perspective, it'd be nice to see him get a victory. Maybe this might be his last fight. We'll see how that goes.
I thought the last one was going to be for sure.
Jan Blachowicz and Alex Pereira. Pereira moving up officially in weight class after losing to Izzy in his last fight and losing the title.
Boy, he looks good.
It's a pick'em, minus 116, minus 106. I talked about it before. If Pereira didn't have the history with Adesanya, he would not be fighting for a title, and he would not have been a champion. But nevertheless, he has impressed. And even in that fight that he lost to Izzy, he was getting beaten the first fight pretty good, and then he caught him. And then in the last fight, I thought he was doing pretty well. I thought he was actually controlling the fight. Now, Adesanya says he was doing a bit of the rope-a-dope on him or whatever. Whether he was or wasn't, who knows? But whatever. Landed a beautiful counter, knocked him out, and is the champ again. But Pereira to be moving up for the first time against a former champion in Blachowicz to be a pick'em, I find that surprising. Do you not?
I do, but I mean, I think it's because you got some, that name value on Pereira.
That's what I think it is.
What he can do, like what you said. But he's done this before, I believe, in Glory Kickboxing. His last fight, because he was already the middleweight champ, jumped up to light heavyweight. He wanted both belts, and I believe he won that fight. And that fight also went the distance. So he's been in that position before where he had to gain weight, fight in a weight class that's heavier. He's huge anyway. But, I mean, listen, Jan Block is no joke. But,
oh, yeah.
I mean, from an entertainment perspective and a fan perspective, you want Pereira to win. Because that light heavyweight division's been brutal.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, who's up next? Yuri Prochazka? I don't even know how to pronounce his name.
Prochazka? Yeah.
I mean, the prospect of having Jan Block against him, it doesn't exactly
let me just pull this up.
Want to make you buy that pay-per-view.
Jamal Hill is the light heavyweight champion.
Yeah, that's right. Which I wouldn't mind seeing.
Prochazka.
I wouldn't mind seeing Jamal Hill against Pereira.
Rakic.
Not great.
No,
not great, dude.
And if Pereira wins this, he's not in the top 15 because he hasn't fought there. But if he wins this fight, I think he gets an immediate title shot.
Yeah, the problem with Blachowicz too is, like Tony Ferguson, has multiple ways to win. If you're on the ground with him, it might be over for Pereira. If it goes that far.
Yeah, he had. But see, the thing is, like, Blachowicz fought a middleweight coming up before. He fought Israel Adesanya.
That's right.
And he laid on top of him in the last championship rounds. But I don't think he can do that to Pereira because Pereira is much bigger than Izzy would have been at that time, because Izzy came in like 5-10 pounds under anyway.
Forgot about that, yeah.
And I think that Blachowicz will try and do exactly what you're talking about, because he will be bigger than Pereira, I would imagine, but not by much.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch that fight. One odd that's like kind of bizarre to me: Derek Lewis, at the moment, I believe, is plus 183. He opened at minus money.
Really?
He opened at minus money, which I don't understand. I wouldn't bet Derek Lewis anyway. He lost his last 3 fights. He's just not really in anything right now. And he's going up against De Lima, who's a better fighter.
Mm.
But
doesn't he have the most knockouts in the history of the UFC, though? I think.
Could be. Could be. But he's near the end of the road.
Yeah.
I just sad that I missed the boat on De Lima plus money, because now he's like minus 173.
Wow, that is weird.
A lot of movement.
A lot of movement on UFC odds. Like, unless there's reports out of
There's got to be
camp.
something out there. Yeah. So he lost to Tai Tuivasa, Pavlovich, and Spivak. I mean, all pretty difficult, and he was either subbed or knocked out in 3 of those fights.
All right, quickly, let's get to some NFL talk. We have a couple minutes here.
Your boy.
Joe Burrow, he gets hurt.
Oh, Burrow, okay.
Ramsey.
Ramsey's
having surgery.
Yeah.
He's going to miss the beginning of the season. Garrett Wilson also carted off.
Yeah.
And you said my boy. Who's my boy?
Nathaniel Hackett. I thought we were going.
Oh, yeah, I want to get to him as well. But, the injuries have been tough.
Yeah. Listen, the Burrow one was scary. Like, if you're the Bengals, okay, take Burrow out of the lineup. Let's say Burrow misses half this season.
Yeah.
Knock on wood, hopefully he's fine.
They're toast.
How many wins?
5.
Yes.
5. Max. Not even, 5 wins.
But he had the sleeve on his calf, so he's obviously dealing with something. And if it's a calf strain in a couple of weeks,
nothing's worse than watching a guy get a
days?
non-contact injury. That's the worst.
It's the worst. I mean, you start thinking Achilles and stuff like that. But they still have 40-plus days until the start of the season? I think he'll be all right. But if you're Burrow right now, are you thinking, do I just sit this out until I get a new contract? Do I milk this thing?
No, he won't do that. He doesn't seem like that kind of guy, but I wouldn't blame him. Kevin James Payton says Nathaniel Hackett is one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL.
Last year with the Broncos.
Which, even if is accurate, because there were a couple of really bad decisions made late in the game. He didn't last the whole season in his first year. I've never heard anyone say anything like that to the former coach ever.
No, I'm not surprised. And I think you said, like, you don't say this in the coaching fraternity. I think he's just protecting his guy, Russ, protecting his team.
It's fine, but you didn't have to
almost like, hey, Russ.
This is violent.
It's like, hey, Russ, I'm putting my neck on the line for you here.
Yeah.
Go out and show the people what you're made of. I think.
I know he's saying that basically it wasn't your fault. It was a complete disaster last year, which it was, but still. That's bold of you, Sean Payton. All right, coming up next, Sarah Peraria, James Sharman. They're going to join us as we talk Women's World Cup here on The Parleh Show. All right, welcome back to Bet99's The Parleh Show. Rob Conway, Albert Vartanian, and joining us now is Sarah Peraria and James Sharman as we're going to talk a little bit of Women's World Cup. And I'm just going to throw it right to you, Sarah. There has been an announcement from Canada Soccer and the women's team, more off the pitch, even though there's a lot going on the pitch right now. And what was that?
Basically, they came out and they said they're signing the agreement after all this back and forth. It kind of makes me think a little bit that this was all predetermined. I don't think that this would be decided right now in the middle of a tournament. James and I were talking about this off air. But everything that's kind of happened with the men's team and now with them signing, I think this was something that maybe they already decided, and it's just being released now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bridge deal, right? It's short term for just this year. It's not the full CBA, which has caused the big labour strife in Canadian soccer. It's interesting, the statement. They're not happy about it. They're pretty bitter about being forced to sign it, saying, listen, essentially, we didn't want to sign this deal, but given the financial realities of Canadian soccer, which we are now privy to, we felt we had no choice but to sign this and give ourselves a little bit of money, but at the same time guarantee camps and resources are available to the program. It's not what they wanted, simple as that. But now they're acknowledging at least that the money isn't there, which it clearly isn't there. Canada Soccer's pretty obvious about that. They come out pretty clearly. But I suppose there's progress to a certain degree in that the players now realize there's no money. But at the same time, they feel ripped off because they do deserve a lot more than what they're getting.
Right.
I'm shrinking right now.
People are probably trying to figure out why I'm smiling.
I'm shrinking.
It's not because of what James is saying. He's shrinking, unfortunately.
It's this damn. Really I'm just too heavy.
It's the chair. No. It's not you, Sharp. It's the chair. Do you think that the media ban that they imposed has anything to do with this news that just came out recently?
No, the media ban which they imposed is now being scaled back a little bit. They are meeting tomorrow with the media after a gym session, a couple of players. So the reaction to that wasn't great, Sarah, and it shouldn't be. I know they're talking about the pressures and the commitments to doing their media duties. I mean, listen, with respect to Canadian soccer, the pressure they're feeling is far less than a lot of other nations, which are footballing nations. The demands weren't that great, but I understand why they're also, shall we say, a little bit short with their association regarding their responsibilities.
Well done.
Oh my God. Yeah. Listen though, again.
Try to stand up. I just stand.
You might have
to.
It's so funny. No, but listen, I just think all of this in general, going into that match against Australia, knowing now Australia beating Nigeria, losing to Nigeria 3-2. They have to fight for this. They have to win this game, right? They're in third place in the group. So everything with Canada Soccer right now and the women's team going into the biggest match of the tournament so far for them. This is in shambles. This is really bad right now.
Really and truly, this is was a terrible result for Canada from a convenience standpoint. I mean, obviously it is what it is. You got to get the job done. But I mean, what does that say going into this game of how desperate Australia's going to be? Because they're a host. They got to win.
Yeah. I wonder the pressure they're going to feel, right? I mean, it's going to be a packed stadium, a lot of pressure. They have to win that game, which should play into Canada's hands. But against Ireland, even Beth Priestman admitted that Canada was somewhat overwhelmed by the occasion, which is a big concern to me. If they're overwhelmed. This is a team that's played some big games. They're Olympic gold medalists. Not all the players, obviously, but some veterans on that team. So for them to be overwhelmed, that's a flag for me. They can't allow that to happen. They were really good in the second half. They play that way against Australia, they could win that game and get to knockout phase. It's about building through these tournaments, right? That's what it's all about. But yeah, I mean, listen, they've made their own bed with that early draw. Serve Australia with the loss. Australia will have Sam Kerr back probably, which would be massive for them.
Huge.
I mean, missing her, they're not the same team. So I tell you what, that's a proper big match on Monday.
It's do or die.
6 a.m.
It's
Eastern.
do or die.
Can't wait for it.
If Nigeria wins, both Canada and Australia can't go through. Am I correct there on that match?
Yeah.
Canada just needs to win or draw.
Australia,
only one can, right?
Nigeria are top of the group right now based on goals for.
Right.
So if they win, they're top of the group no
and
matter
then only
what.
one of those two. So, man,
how big is that game?
Nigeria's a great story, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no one had them rated before the tournament, but it shows how the global game in the women's world is just growing, and Canada has to keep pace, right? They've got to get a professional league, which we hope is coming by 2025, because these other nations are investing in their programs, and they're beginning to get, if not passing Canada, at least equal to Canada. Canada had a good run for a long time with a very, very small pool of talent. Now it's changing. So we're seeing teams like Nigeria really show themselves at the World Cup, a good team, a physical team. So I think it's good for the global game, but for Canada, get your stuff together.
Yeah, make a bit of a run here. Don't lose, right? And here are the odds. So Canada's plus 225 to win the game, plus 225 is a draw. Australia, you can still get a plus money, actually, plus 125. Canada to win the group, plus 200.
And bear in mind, before the tournament, Aussies were the big favourites to win this group as well. Obviously, host nation. So it has changed somewhat.
Yeah, everything changes, man.
Yeah.
Lots of goals now, though, Albert. Lots of goals.
I know. I was big on the both teams to score. Or not to score. Both teams to score. No, was like at one point it was
like 19-2 or something.
It was 18-1, then 19-2, and now just goals are
Yeah,
going
that
in
game
all
last
those
night
ways.
with Argentina and South Africa.
Right, those teams. But where's Canada's goals coming from? Christian Sinclair limped off the
That's a
field
big problem.
the last match.
Yeah.
And Bev Priestman was saying in a press conference she's basically very questionable, if not doubtful, for that match. Now, listen, Christian Sinclair's not the goal scorer she was 4 years ago, and we know that. Still integral off the bench, certainly. I just don't know where the goals are coming from, because so far we haven't seen it. We've seen own goals, we've seen penalty misses, but from open play, they're not creating much.
And she wasn't expected to start this game as well, right?
Yeah.
Well, that was a debate we could have.
That was what we were talking
Yeah,
about. But
I mean-
coming off the bench, like we talked about her and Schmidt's presence, and it was everything. I don't care what's happening with Christine Sinclair. Bring her on the pitch. Like, we know this is going to be her last tournament. Come on, she's 40 years old. If this is the way, like, if this is the last time we're going to see her, especially in a World Cup, go on and just do what you can do. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't want to see that, like, her last match. Like, I don't know.
I haven't thought about that. That is extremely sad, right? We may have seen Christine Sinclair for the last time playing for our country. If she retires
wanna hear
post-World
that.
Cup,
I don't want to hear that.
that's tough to stomach, right, as football
Yeah.
fans, because if she is injured, she can't play in the next game, and if, God forbid, Australia beat Canada, that could be it.
Could be it. Well, hopefully it's not, because
Sorry
we're
about that,
we're
sir.
no we're,
It's just
we're
dawned
cheering
on me
for
now.
Canada 100%. We
weekend.
want to make sure that Christine Sinclair moves on and gets healthy and into the knockout stages with a big victory over Australia. But if you want to see someone who's passionate about a sport, watch Sarah Pereira watching. What was it, practice or qualifying?
Qualifying.
Well, at least it was qualifying. All right,
was
man. So it
great.
wasn't like watching, the batting practice or something in baseball. But you were
like
loving
Albert
every
watching
minute
Ohtani.
of it.
Yeah.
And what's the grid? Is that set now? Do we know the grid? Or is it
Yeah,
not done
so
yet?
it's set. Of course, Verstappen finished pole, shock, but it's taking a 5-place grid penalty due to a gearbox change, which means Charles Leclerc will be starting up front on Sunday's race. But the big story is Max Verstappen finished at pole by 8/10, which in the Formula One world is miles. He qualified so far ahead of everyone, and I mean, you put him in 6th on the grid, I'll see you at the finish line. Like, I'm not expecting anything else but a Verstappen win unless, something crazy happens. One thing is with Spa is it always rains. It's a dangerous race. Expect DNFs, expect safety cards, and lots of flags, and that's actually where I'd put my money. I know that the Bet99 is updating right now because...
Well, they just came out.
Woo! Give me some DNFs.
We got some odds.
All right,
Max Verstappen, if you had to guess what his odds are to win the race.
Minus 800.
I'll go minus 400.
Minus 250.
Minus 304, Max Verstappen to win the race.
Hey.
Perez behind him, plus
Minus
540.
800. Well, you're probably right, though. actually.
Hamilton, plus 1,000. Leclerc, 17-1. And your boy Oscar, plus 2,300.
Bob Barker over here. James Sharman won. He's up on stage with you now.
$1, Bob.
Can I ask about is there anything about safety cars or how many
Okay,
cars
I got
to
to do
not
some
finish?
digging. Okay, let me do some
All
digging
right,
while you
yeah.
guys chat.
Yeah, let's do that
Are you
because
enjoying this season? You're like a diehard F1 fan, and you
Yeah.
appreciate a dominant performance. You like Lewis's dominance, his dynasty.
No,
Are you
I didn't
enjoying
like
Verstappen?
Lewis's dominance. I don't like this dominance, but I mean, Red Bull haven't lost a race this season at all. We're going into race 13. Obviously, we lost a race in Italy due to some flooding, but that's 12. That's 11. Sorry, 11 races.
Math on live TV is never a good
Hashtag
idea.
math.
Yeah.
That's 11 races Red Bull have won.
Yeah.
Like I if you're not a Red Bull fan, this is boring for you. And I'm not taking credit away from Max or Checo. It's just I need a little bit of, variety here. I love the past 2 weeks. We've seen McLaren do really well. Lando and Oscar Piastri have been great, and they're looking good this weekend as well so far from what I've seen in qualifying. But yeah, like it is. It's like any sport. Like it's hard to compare because obviously, like in F1, you have every week or every 2 weeks or so there's a race and there's a winner. It's not really like you have in football like championships every other week or in hockey even whatever. But it is just like shock. Here we go. You're kind of going to see who makes the podium.
So next year's Drive to Survive, which is about this season, what is the narrative? What is the juice if it's not going to be first place?
That one's tough. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of the beginning, the resurgence of Fernando Alonso, because he had a spectacular first quarter there. Let's see what Danny Ricciardo can do. He just came back to the F1, obviously. You have younger racers like Lando and Russell who are kind of coming into their own finally after a couple years in the formula. But yeah, it is like you're digging for all those other stories because it looks like, well, Red Bull just broke the record for most consecutive races won. Like that's the story. It's gonna a lot of it's gonna be surrounded around Max and Red Bull and Christian Horner and Checo.
No safety car odds. So far it's just winning racer and constructor. Red Bull minus 715.
Yeah, I would say to those betting, keep your eyes out for when everything's updated because qualifying literally finished like less than an hour ago. Safety cars and how many cars to finish, because I can guarantee you in Spa there will always be a safety car, and don't expect all 20 drivers to cross that checkered flag.
Max is minus 200 for the fastest lap.
Yeah. What's Leclerc?
Checo?
What's Leclerc?
Let me find Leclerc here. Charles Leclerc, 25-1, fastest
Hammer
lap.
it!
25.
Really?
What?
He did really well in qualifying, and we know that Ferrari has a great car when it comes to finishing one lap. Also, let's remember tomorrow, guys, is the sprint race. Very exciting. So, lots of places to put your money.
Carter said the fastest lap odds are out as well. Red Bull Racing minus 400, Mercedes 560, McLaren 7. Ferrari 12-1, Aston Martin 2000.
McLaren to podium. Take one of those guys. Lando Norris to podium. I think will do well for some money.
We got some money.
What time is the sprint in the morning?
Tomorrow, I think it's at like 6 a.m.
I only asked you because it doesn't matter. If you said
6 a.m.?
If you said any time before noon, I wasn't
Yeah.
going to watch you.
This is the day after the beer fest.
I was going to say, because tonight
Sorry,
we're all
there's
heading
also-
down
there's-
to TFOB. Go ahead.
There's Brazil and France in the morning at 6 a.m.
Oh
I'll be
my
watching
goodness.
that for sure.
What a
That's
disaster.
arguably one of the best
That
matches.
could be a PVR.
Oh, yeah.
We're going. All of us going down to Toronto Festival of Beer tonight, and I wanted to ask you. We can talk about more in the last block if we run out of time. But there's 3 nights, all great. Ice Cube tonight, Third Eye Blind on Saturday, and I believe T-Pain on Sunday. So I ask you. I'll start with you, Albert. What day would you prefer to go to?
Yeah, Ice Cube. I don't
good,
care.
'cause
about-
we're going, so that's
Third
good.
Eye Blind, can't even name a song. T-Pain, whatever. I've seen him before. Ice Cube.
I'm a rock and roll kind of guy, but
Yeah.
NWA?
Yes.
Come on.
you.
It's Ice Cube. Of course it is.
Straight out of Compton. For sure it's Ice Cube. The answer to that is Ice Cube. He's like, I'm
someone-
one for
Here
Third
you go.
Eye
Here you go.
Blind.
He's a one-eyed blind kind of guy.
I wish you
isn't he?
guys would step back from that ledge, my friends, and that would be Third Eye Blind.
No.
Yeah,
I said
very
one-eyed
excited.
blind.
Come on, dude.
I thought you were making a joke.
No, it wasn't.
You don't know that song? You guys know all the. You
I'm
know
sure I
all
do,
the
You
yeah.
called him
I'm not-
One-Eyed Blind.
Name one
No, I
song.
said Third Eye Blind.
No,
I said
James
One-Eyed
called
Blind.
it
Oh,
that.
One Eye Blind.
That's how
I was
well
like
we know about this.
Name a song.
Jumper. That was the song I just sang.
I-
Yeah, you know, do 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 do.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That sounds like a song from like a 90s Adam Sandler movie.
Well, it might have been in a 90s
well
Adam
have been,
Sandler
yeah.
movie, but I love that band. But can't see it because on Sunday is my baby's 1-year birthday. Not actually a birthday, but the party, so
Happy early
can't be at
birthday.
Beer
The
Fest.
Baby
the night
wouldn't
before.
remember.
No.
I know. And then Matchbox 20 is on her actual birthday. Can't go to that either.
Well, see, bonus.
Not happy about it, but it's my baby's one birthday. Your birthday. There's not much I can do about it. All right. We'll be back after this. James and Sarah are going to stick around, Albert and I, for the Parleh. All right, time to wrap the show with the Parleh. It's Rob Conway, Albert Vartanian, James Sharman, and Sarah Pararia. We're ready to go. We were talking about it in the break, and this is a big one. So let's just say if it hits, everyone head on down to TFOB because we'll buy you a couple tokens. Sarah, what do you got?
Wow. France, Brazil. Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., one of the biggest games in the World Cup so far, for sure. I'm going Debinha anytime goal scorer. She hasn't scored yet. Expecting her to score in this game. Plus 275. I like it a lot.
No Renard for France in that one either.
Exactly. Or you could go Eugenie Lesmer to score, but I'm going Debinha.
For the first time, I'm pretty sure for the first time on the Parleh show, I'm going for Canadian Premier League.
It is the first time.
It is the
Yes.
first time, right? Great league, by the way. Give it a chance. Seriously. Pacific are playing against Valor, right? Pacific's a very good team, real contender for the championship. Valor's an emerging team, but not really contender just yet. Get plus money on the road for Pacific at plus 130. Thank you very much. I'll take that.
Do you mind telling me, this is not meant to be funny, where those two teams play?
Pacific is like the island, Vancouver Island,
Okay, yeah.
and Valor is Winnipeg.
Okay. So
I don't think I could have answered.
Now you know.
No, yeah, I'm actually
The
asking
more
for
you
real.
know, man.
Support
Yeah.
Canadian soccer.
Yeah,
Yes.
100%.
My original pick was going to be Ohtani, 2+ bases at
Yeah,
plus 110,
but
which I still will
I
bet.
sewered you though on
But
that.
instead of that, let's go with the Phillies, minus 160. Zach Wheeler on the mound.
Okay, give me a
I like the
second.
Phillies.
Keep telling me why you like the Phillies while I get the, because I have to add this to the parlay now.
Zach Wheeler's on the mound for the Phillies against the Pirates. Pirates kind of been struggling. Phillies still pushing for a playoff spot, so that's why. Zach Wheeler, minus
All right.
160. I don't mind them on the run line either, minus 1.5, plus 105.
Okay, and I got a Albert Vartanian special with Gausman on the mound. Under 8.5.
God.
Lucas Giolito. I can't believe it was 8.5. That would have been 7.5. Giolito making his debut. I think he's going to be great, and Gausman's been solid for the most part. Do you know what this pays?
Yeah, I want to know.
Plus $2,575. So $100 gets you $2,500. That's a lot.
Sprinkle.
A lot of tokens.
Sprinkle
What could go wrong, huh?
No, nothing.
No.
I like it. Minus 110, plus 130, plus 275, and Albert with a solid minus 160, trying to, listen, hold down the fort.
Keep it
Someone's
strong,
gotta-
man. You need the
everything
anchor on a
hits-
parlay, right?
If everything hits, James, besides CPL, you can't talk about CPL anymore. That'll be the rule.
Every
All right.
week.
That's it for the show today. I'll be seeing all of you guys tonight down at the X for Toronto Festival of Beer. If you're there, head by the Bet99 tent. We will all be there having a good time. Should be a lot of fun with Ice Cube headlining tonight. But for Albert, James, Sarah, I'm Rob Conway in Toronto. We will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.